What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Monday, April 8th, 2024. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil for episode 274. Phil, happy Eclipse Day. I don't know about you. I personally have been looking forward to this day so we can get to April 9th and all the publicity about a moon in a certain position in the sky will go away for another however many years until it's back when I'm dead and gone.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm looking forward to witnessing it personally, and I'm happy that Buffalo, like I wouldn't travel for it obviously, but I think it's really fun that Buffalo is in the extreme path of it, the direct path of totality as they say. So pretty excited that I don't have to go anywhere. I can sit in my driveway or my lawn and enjoy this fun, pretty rare as far as cutting through Buffalo goes, eclipse, solar, space event kind of thing.
I mean, if you are interested in it, and not just you, anybody else out there, I am not holding it against you. I just don't really care. Like, I've never been one of those big time, need to see these once in a lifetime freak natural moments because I can't get myself to care. If that makes sense. Like if I'm going to a place, like if I have to travel to, like when we were on our cruise in Italy and we passed that volcano, that was 10 times cooler for me than whatever is going to transpire on Monday here. Because guess what? It's going to get dark. Guess what it does every night? Gets dark. I mean, I get you have to wear the special goggles or the little glasses or whatever to look at it. I can't get myself to. Maybe I'll go out there and I'll look at it and I'll go, wow, I was way wrong about this. I don't know what's really to look forward to other than seeing if I can find all 50 states license plates driving around the falls, which I've been trying to do with work the last week because I think I'm at 26. I think I've counted 26 out of state license plates so far, which is I thought it was pretty good. I thought I'm pretty good. I'm over
pretty
half.
Impressive. Yeah, I know you're supposed to be able to see some cool solar kind of flares and radiation off it and kind of the moon's mountains and things of that nature. And I don't think it's supposed to be just like, oh, it got dark out. I think like when you actually look at the sun and the eclipse of it, it's supposed to be pretty cool looking, but we'll see. Yeah, so we'll find out. Like you said, I'm happy I don't have to go anywhere for it. Even within Buffalo a while ago, we were thinking about going somewhere, just like a park or something, to go watch it. And then with all the insane amount of traffic and things, we were like, all right, driveway sounds lovely.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go over to the old abandoned mall across the street where there's not, like, in my backyard, there's a bunch of trees, so I don't even know if you're going to be able to see it. So maybe I'll just literally maybe walk across to the medical campus or something, watch it there so we can actually see it. But even then, I don't know if I'm willing to do it. We'll see what happens. But if you're out there looking at the eclipse, no better way to do Eclipse Day than to have the BSC playing. And you can do that at your party outside or just outside of your office when you're watching this, because it's supposed to go on for 30 minutes or something. So I thought I saw like 2 o'clock to 4:30.
Full event's supposed to be pretty long. Like partial eclipse to end of partial eclipse is supposed to be pretty long. The totality is like 3 minutes, where you don't need glasses and you can just stare at the sun for a little bit.
Well, then you can even just pause us for the 3 minutes that it's actually going on. But yeah, tell your friends, tell your family, everybody to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's article will be dropping tomorrow on Tuesday, Buffalo versus Mammoth write-up. And then my second to last power rankings, week 12, will be out on Thursday. Phil, can't wait for the regular season to be concluded so I can stop doing it every week. But look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. On today's show, we got Bandits versus Mammoth to talk about. Buffalo is victorious once again. We got second edition of Real Bill, Fake Bill, Draft Edition. See if Phil can top what he did on Friday. And then I do have to add the bonus points because I forgot to do that on Friday's show. So we will have that on this show. I know producer Pat said he went 1 for 5 in that one, so we'll see if I can stump him again. And then the Sabres had 2 more games. Whoop-de-doo for that. But let's start with the Buffalo Bandits. Victorious Friday night, won 13-11. Smith had 5 on an absolute heater. Byrne had 3, Kluch had 2, Nanico, Justin Robinson, and Buchanan had 1. Vince, 32 of 43 saves. Shots were 43 each team. Buffalo won the faceoff 16-12. Buffalo was 3 for 6 on the power play, and Mammoth for 4 for 6.
I don't want to. I'm caught in the middle, PK, of going through some of the things I have in my article that I discovered that were very strange about this game and letting them go so people go read the article. But I'll probably go over some of them.
Tease them. Do a little tease.
Right. So the offense essentially was very weird in this game. Dane Smith did some weird things. Josh Byrne did some weird things, and the team in general. It was a very weird game for me to watch the offense, and not just the Bandits offense, but also Colorado. I mean, they seem to have agreed that they were going to try really hard in the first quarter and the fourth quarter between both teams, and then kind of disappear for the second and the third. And even when the Bandits did score, it was really quick, and then absolutely nothing. And then they would score 2 quick ones, and then it'd be absolutely nothing. So it was just a strange game. The Bandits ended up going 24 minutes plus without scoring a goal, which is pretty disgusting. But both teams combined went over 15 minutes without scoring a goal. So again, they just seem to kind of agree with each other that, let's just not score for a long time. And even the 43 shots each, the Bandits have been held to under 50 shots on goal for the first time since they played Halifax, which was 7 games ago. So just incredibly weird offensive game. I thought the middle of it especially looked terrible by both teams. And another thing that was very strange was the lack of second chances by, again, both teams. It was just a take a shot, have it blocked, have it, an easy save, and then the defense immediately scoops it up, and the other offense does the exact same thing, and we're just going to repeat that for 15 minutes, and nobody's going to score. And even Colorado's goal, I mean, if it didn't happen on that last play with 3 seconds left in the first half, you're talking about even longer that both teams go without scoring. It was just a very, very strange, but very even and intense game. Glad the Bandits were able to win it. I thought the defense played pretty well, especially outside of the penalty kill, which we can get to. But I thought it was a good game, a very intense game, a fun game between 2 rivals, but just weird and strange things happened in it.
Yeah, we'll run through it really quick. I'll run through it really quick because I know it was a very big back and forth game. Buffalo goes out to that early 3-0 lead. I think it was on 3 shots as well.
Yes.
Then 4-goal run by Colorado. 2 power play goals by Buffalo to end the first. Then they went on that 24-minute, 31-second drought between their 5th and the 6th goal. And that's what we were talking about on the Friday show where, hey, you can't go on these long droughts. And it's a good thing, once again, that they went against a team that has been struggling both defensively and offensively throughout the year. But a 3-goal run in the third to make it 8-6. Nanico's shorthanded goal made it 9-7. Colorado would score 3 more in a minute 06 to take that lead. Byrne would tie it 16 seconds later. And then 38 seconds later, Zed would give them the lead. Then Buffalo would close it out like we have seen throughout the year. They finished with the final 3. Phil, I don't know if you want to move to the offense, what we saw, the good, the bad. I didn't see a ton of bad besides, a lot of sloppy play in the second with a lot of missed passes and drop balls.
Yeah, that's mainly the thing that I saw too. I mean, the missed passes and just the time without a goal.
Got bad.
Even in the first, after they scored those 3 quick, it was about 10 minutes before you scored your next one. And then that huge drought, and then they got one, and then it was another 6 minutes before they scored. And then they, rattled off 2, then you got 3 minutes, and then it was pretty consistent in the fourth for when they scored. It was just the extended times without a goal, something like you said, we talked about a number of times now throughout the entire season, but something, again, we tried to bring up on the pregame of something they should not do. And 24 minutes without a goal is just terrible. For an offense that is number one in the league in goals per game, they did end up finishing with their average of 13, which is great, but just incredible that you can go 24 minutes without scoring and not only be able to do that, but do that and still come away with 13 goals. Maybe if there was a little bit more consistent with a goal, somewhere in those 24 minutes, it would have looked a little bit better. But overall, outside of the goal droughts, and like you mentioned, there were a few missed passes. I feel like Buchanan had a lot of good opportunities, but some that were great opportunities of just dropped passes, or he would go to take the shot and just miss it. But I thought the offense had some good moments for sure. And overall, I thought they played fine. I would have liked to see, like I said, more consistency, but 13 goals is still great. And they turned it on when they needed to.
Yeah, I mean there were 17 combined turnovers in the second quarter. It was really ugly, and like you mentioned, if they don't score that goal with 2.7 seconds left on the clock, you go a whole quarter without anybody scoring a goal. And I think that goes back to, and I'm not going to put all of it on this excuse because we have seen these goal droughts throughout the year for the Buffalo Bandits, but this is two teams that have played each other a ton the last 3 years. There's not a ton of new players on both sides of the matchup. There are some newer players, but I mean, these two teams know each other. They know the offenses, they know the defenses. You really can't beat each other with something you haven't seen because you've played each other 10 times in the last 3 years. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on that because it's hard to come up with new things that you haven't rolled out in those 10 games. But then the only other negative I really have is that penalty shot. Ward felt like he knew exactly what Josh was going to do. Those type of penalty shots have to go in. You need to cash in those opportunities when they're presented because they're presented so infrequently that I feel like the advantage should be like 80-20 for the shooter because you're literally going one-on-one with the goaltender. It just felt like Ward was not going to move until that final deke on Josh Byrne. And I feel like if Josh would have done just one more deke, faked him low, and then went cross body again, you would have beat Ward because it felt like he was leaning to his right, knowing Josh always comes from his right to his left to score in front of the net. So I wish he would have just faked low left, had Dylan. It's easier to Monday morning quarterback on this type of thing, but I just wish he would have went low left and then back up over, Dylan Ward's left shoulder. I think he would have beaten him pretty clean if he would have done that.
I feel like obviously Josh knows that he screwed up there and missed a big opportunity, but I mean, I wouldn't have taken anyone else in that situation. I feel like nine times
that was
out of
his
10,
yep.
Josh is bearing that. That's probably the one time that he screwed up, and he might have gotten just a little bit too in his head, too much of a kind of pre-planned play, just like you mentioned, that Ward kind of probably sniffed out pretty early because he is a veteran goalie. And like you mentioned, they've seen each other a lot, so he knows Josh's tendencies pretty well. So unfortunate miss there, but overall, it was an okay game outside of the just consistency as far as the offense goes. The defense, I thought it's very similar to how they've been playing.
Can I go back over the offense real quick?
Absolutely.
I have a few more positive notes.
Sorry.
I thought we were just doing the negatives. The 5-hole seemed like it was open for days. I don't know if you noticed that as well. Like Kluch hit the 5-hole, Dane hit the 5-hole. First in the 13th goal by Dane, he just blew by the defender, and yes, the 13th was the empty netter. But Nanakoke drawing the 3 penalties, which were huge. Frazier drew the 8-second call that ended up leading to Nanakoke drawing of the power play. The pick and roll that we've been finally waiting for between Nanakoke and Buchanan. Not that we've been waiting for those two to do it, but just in general, we haven't seen much of that at all. And Nanakoke and Buchanan sold that perfectly. Byrne, quick reaction to get his own rebound off that monster save by Dylan Ward to tie it 10-10. I mean, the reaction that he had to have to snag that ball that he just shot. And then Byrne's juke step. It looked like he took lessons from Dane Smith on that 11th goal. But it was a weird game offensively because it seemed like almost all of the goals were kind of different. Like I said, there were 2 5-holes. Dane blew by the defender. There was the pick and roll. There was the big pick by Nanakoke to free up Kluch. It just seemed like a lot of things went, in differently, which I think that is what you have to do against a goaltender like Dylan Ward who has your number. But I thought they spread it out pretty nicely. I know Byrne and Smith had 8 8 of the 13 goals. But Nanticoke got his goal and 3 points. Kluch had 6 points and 2 goals. Frazier chipped in 3. I just feel like this offense is humming best when you're getting everybody involved in one way or another. And I think they did that perfectly in this game.
Yeah, I don't know if this is considered special teams, but I'm going to throw it on the offense. The penalty kill, that was not great, but the shorthanded goal, if you go back and watch that entire play, like it is realistically closer to a
Nanticoke's?
1 minute play. Yeah, Nanako's shorthanded
Yeah,
goal
yeah, that was
where
lovely.
originally it was Cloutier who fired a last minute shot off of a ricocheted shot that went wide. He grabbed the rebound after the Colorado player had no idea where the ball was, fired it in, got a fresh 30, but they had to run all the way back to grab it. And then in the loose ball, McKay smartly like chipped it all the way around the boards, just
Yep.
slapping at it to the Bandits player. And then they got it up to Byrne, and then Byrne passed it to Nanticoke, who pushed his defender off. Then he did that incredible little fake shovel to completely fool his defender and Ward and get him pulled way out of the net and then just step around him. It was just all the way around. It was like a 1 minute incredible shorthanded play by a lot of different players to make that goal happen. And they really needed it at that time. But if you watch the defender, when Nanticoke makes that shuffle, he has no idea that the ball was not shot. He just completely stops playing, assuming that the ball went to Ward, and then realized Nanticoke still had the ball in his stick. And it was really cool to see and just a incredible team effort to get that goal.
Yeah, and a timely goal as well, especially getting it on that shorthanded. But yeah, we can flip over the defense. I thought they had a great second and third. I mean, they weren't allowing much at all. The goals, allowed they didn't allow any goals in the final 9:58 of the game, and that's what we've at least more recently where the beginning of the fourth you might see a couple goals go in, but those final 10 minutes Buffalo's really been locking it down lately. I thought McKay getting that loose ball off Edwards faceoff, which led to another Nanticoke drawing another penalty. I mean, I'll talk up Nanticoke nonstop because I think it's all the dirty work that he does. I mean, he is the only man in the league that gets cross-checked in the head as often as he does. And I know we were watching it on the couch the day later because we were out celebrating your engagement, future wedding coming up. But Brooke was on the couch. She goes, I feel like Nanticoke just gets hit in the head so often. I was like, yeah, because he lowers his head and just drives in and nobody can stop him without hitting him in the head. I mean, I think all three were pretty much the same thing. He got hit in the head in all of them.
And I'm pretty sure all the ones he drew were on Jeffrey.
Yes.
Jeffrey had 4 penalties in the game. I think all 3 of the ones that he got that Nanticoke drew so were on him. And again, that's just getting in a player's head. He does all those little things where even the announcers on the one were like, I don't know what happened behind the play, but Jeffrey just took 3 huge whacks at Nanticoke and then just went and sat in the box and like understood it, where Nanticoke just kind of walked off. He's like, yep, that's what I'm doing. Like, to get in somebody's head the entire game that seriously is impressive, and good on the refs for keeping an eye on it and really having Jeffrey's number as he drew 4 penalties.
Yeah, and that's what we've been saying is you can't get that ball out of Nanticoke's stick for the life of you. So I can see why players get aggravated, but 15 total caused turnovers in the game, 10 block shots. McLaughlin 2-1-3. I thought they defended him amazingly. I thought it was one of the best defensive performances against him all year long against any team. Robinson 1-3-4. They've been able to shut him down both games this year. Kinnear, besides that one unbelievable goal, which I thought Martin played perfect defense on. It was just a perfect shot. 1-1-2. Gibson had 5 assists. But the player I want to talk about the most here, because I have been giving him a more difficult time because of my expectations were so much higher. I thought this was Cam Wire's best game by far of the entire year. I mean, just stats alone, 8 loose balls, a block shot, and 4 caused turnovers. But I thought he was the best because they gave him some opportunities off of the penalty kill. Like, he wasn't out there on every single one. I was kind of hoping that when Justin Martin would come back, Justin Martin would go back into his same spot and you would have Paul Dawson in front as well. I was hoping those two would be the lower guys, and it felt like there was at least 1 or 2 chances on the penalty kill where they gave Cam Wires a break. I just wish they would do this more often moving forward and take less off Cam Wire's plate and less off his mental game, because if you give him less opportunities to go out there and overthink or give him too much responsibility. I want to have a rookie out there that can make those mistakes more on 5 than 5-on-4 trying to kill off a penalty, because it's going to hurt you worse. So I thought this was a great stepping stone for him and his best game of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered the positives really well.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to go over, and the negatives, they're really, it's the same thing we've been talking about for a while, and it's
Small things.
yeah, and it's an issue with getting healthy. And I know that
Yes.
sounds weird, but the healthier this team gets, you are continually injecting new players in this lineup that have not played together at all this season. Like even Martin coming back from his injury, has he played with Bomberry yet? Has he played with, I mean, he
Right.
played most of the season, but like you just keep putting one or two
Justin
guys in.
Robinson, he hasn't played with these guys
Right.
either. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, Dan Dawson, I mean, yeah, he just came in for a few games, but
Paul
how much
Dawson, but
is,
yes.
sorry, Paul, how many games has he played with all these players? Again, Robinson, again, like being injected in. So it's all these, like, it's great that the defense is getting healthy. It's fantastic, but it's going to take them time to gel. And it's all these little things that allowed a lot of Colorado's goals. And it's just the miscommunications, the slow switch offs, the, you know, assuming this player is going to pick up this guy, but they don't because you guys haven't played together long enough to understand, like, just the, even without communicating, it's a lot of those things where you just expect the guy to your left to do something and he does something completely different. And you're like, okay, well, that's not what I was hoping you would do, but here we are. And now a goal went in, and it's just because they haven't played together. So it's great that they're getting healthy, but even Martin in this game, I thought he looked really good when he was individual and kind of on his own. I thought he played very well, and I was really happy he was back in the lineup. But you could tell that there were times when he had to play off of another defender that there was just miscommunication. It just seemed a little bit off. And one of them was the, I know he's played with Weiss a lot this year, but the goal, the power play goal, where I think Weiss just got driven back into the net on a pick,
Yep.
and Martin was just kind of standing there, and they both kind of just looked at each other like, I don't know. So it's just those little things they need to tighten up. Overall, you only allowed 7 even strength goals. So for the most part, they played really well against a struggling team. But I think as they get healthier, which they might be at full capacity now as far as health goes for the most part of the starting lineup. So we'll see. But if they can remain healthy and play together more, which they only have 2 games left to really tighten it all up, I think these small little things will kind of come together, but they in general seem to be heading in the right direction as a team as it gets closer to the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they healthy scratch Belter and LaRue, and they still have Spanger and Frank Brown on the IR. So they could technically get healthier, but I think they're maxed out on roster space right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we
think
went
this
over
is
last time, they had to get rid of Christian Watts. They just don't have any space because they got all healthy. But I think they're getting healthy at the perfect chance and the perfect opportunity. But I think you hit the nail on the head where it's just new. It's guys in the lineup who haven't played with other guys that are still in the lineup already. So it's going to work itself out. And getting the win when you did and facing the opponents that you are down the stretch, I think also helps because, yes, are these must wins? 100%. But because of the competition you're facing, you're able to integrate these players into the lineup and get them adjusted more until these games truly are one and done in the playoffs. But, 3 of them, they got just bullied over. Causing 3 goals. Dylan Robinson went flying into the stands on Zed Williams' goal. There was 2 that I had on slow changes off the bench. Those ones are the ones that can't happen. Those ones you have to get off the bench quickly. And I don't know if it's just slow changes for the offense getting off the field slow, because I have seen that time and time again where the offensive players just aren't busting their butts to the bench, or there is a turnover and they're not busting their butts down the floor, and then the transition player, the defender, is just blowing right by him and getting in front of. So that needs to change. They have to be hustling on and off the field quicker. Weiss was a dumb penalty, kneeing the guy in the head after that goal. It led to a goal in the third on the power play. That can't happen. Priolo holding because he was flat-footed. That can't happen. But really, 2 players killed the Buffalo Bandits in this one, and it was Zed Williams and Connor Kelly. And I did try to warn everybody on the show on Friday that Connor Kelly coming back was going to be terrifying for me. He went 4-1-5, but I thought overall, you said it perfectly. It's just those small points in the game that they have to fine tune. And I think as they continue to play together, as they work out who's going to be their starters going into the games, and and continue to stay healthy and continue, if they get Frank Brown back, if they get, I don't know what's going on with Matt Spanger coming back, but if they continue to get healthy and they continue to roll out the same players, you're going to get back to what we saw in the playoffs last year, where they're all clicking on all cylinders at the same time, knowing where those defenders are going to be. So I think you said it perfectly. I think it's just small points in these games that are the sticking point for me, at least defensively.
Yeah, I was a little sad to see Zed able to bully the defense a little bit because a lot of their guys are massive at this point, including adding Dawson back there. I mean, he's just a huge guy, but the one he picked on was Dylan
The
Robinson.
smallest
He's
one. Yeah.
he's not quite as big. I mean, even Martin, for a small guy, holds his own against someone like Zed Williams, but I don't think Robinson was ready for that push very much at all. And
Yeah.
he was very upset with himself after the play. He cross-checked the net, and you could tell he was not happy that he got bullied off that easily, but I don't think he was really ready for the full weight of Zed to kind of truck him over. But overall, I thought the defense, like you said, played really well. Penalty kill is a different story. Not great. Not great for the penalty kill. 4 goals allowed in 6 chances. And I don't know. I mean, the 5-on-3, it's a 5-on-3. Those are tough to kind of just in general. I mean, except when you're going up against the Bandits, for some reason, they still can't figure out a 5-on-3, but other teams can. So that's good for them. But I thought Colorado did a really nice job when they had the power play of setting plays up, and just the way they scored most of them, it was kind of on the defense, but also just kind of really great play by Colorado. I mean, the first one, Zed kind of just walked right in, and Dawson didn't step out of his blocking position quick enough to go challenge him, and he just had an incredible shot. Then you had the fake shot to the player behind the net with the diving goal. Again, just a great play. The 5-on-3 was just an incredible bounce shot by Kelly. Like you mentioned, you called Kelly coming back pretty well. And then that other one with I thought this one wasn't great by the defense, but again, it might just be communication where Weiss just got driven back by the pick and just allowed the Colorado player to just walk right in and take a really easy, clean shot while Vince, I believe, was screening the play. But I don't know, penalty kill just wasn't great, but at the same time, I think Colorado handled it really well.
Yeah, before we get into my thoughts, let's go over our first sponsor read here. Tap That Tap Room. Phil, take it away with our first sponsor of this episode.
Tap That Tap Room is at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps. They offer a variety of beer, cider, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages.
And we have said it a lot, but don't make the same mistake I did the first time. If you don't know what you like, sample it first. And if you go, this could be interesting, then fill it up all the way. But they do have a large patio with board and card games for everyone. You can bring your dogs down because they are dog friendly. And Phil, I don't know about you, but this weekend's weather and the current projection for temperature has me really, really excited for patio bevs in the very near future.
Yeah, I did go to their 1-year anniversary party. I went super early as they were just opening, so it wasn't bumping yet, but that is okay with me. But because the weather was so nice, they were discussing loosely that the time to open up that patio is coming up. It was a very nice celebration, and congratulations to them on being open 1 year. And I also, for all of you pickleball lovers out there, did realize as I was driving there that there are, I think, 4 pickleball courts pretty much in their backyard and within walking distance of Tap That Tap Room. So as the weather gets nicer, it might be a nice little duo to go play some pickleball and then go and grab a drink. You can check all of their events that are coming up on their Facebook page and their website.
Yeah, including the karaoke on Thursday. I've been seeing a bunch of videos for them. They actually get some good singers singing karaoke, and it's always I like the bad singers mixed in every once in a while so you can get a good chuckle. I mean, I don't really make fun of them because there's no way I'm getting up there to sing, but it is funny to sprinkle
They
in
know
those,
what they're doing when they're up there.
Yeah, 100%. It's more about the what do you call it? The not the singing abilities, but more the performance that they put on that I want to see. If you know you're showmanship, if you're a bad singer, show it out and nobody will care what you sound like. But own it. Confidence. Confidence is everything, like I've been saying to you for years. If you're confident, you can get by with a ton of things. But yeah, that penalty kill, not great. The power play, or once again, Phil, I don't get it. I will give them my tip of the hat. 5-on-3. They did use all five forwards at one point. They put a forward behind the net, which did help. And guess what? They got two great opportunities. Ward just made two unbelievable saves on the 5-on-3. But I thought it was better. I thought it was better. You didn't just stick Priolo at midfield. Don't do that. I hate it. I hate it. But, other miscellaneous stuff, I thought Farrell was pretty good in this one. He won the final draw that ended up mattering. He had that great, unbelievable pass to Justin Robinson that led to the second goal. So congrats to him on his first NLL point. Power play, great passing. I thought the first power play, it was on their third opportunity to tie it 4-4. And then you already talked about the shorthanded goal. But I thought special teams really was the difference in this one of keeping it close. And I think we should have mentioned this on Friday's show, but when you're facing an opponent like this, you want to stay out of the box. And, there were some bad penalties in there. I know you want to talk about this one and then we can go on the goalies, but I thought the Bomberry hit, and I understand. I don't hear what I'm not saying. I completely understand why they made the call. I just personally thought it was a bad call just because the guy that got hit went flying because Bomberry's a bigger dude. I don't like that. Like, if Dylan Robinson would have done that same exact hit there, it wouldn't have been called. I don't like the boarding call because, to me, boarding is hitting from behind. I didn't like it. I thought it was a clean hit, and I know they want to take some of those hits out of the game, but it's not like Bomberry hit him in the head. That's the thing that got me. If he would have hit him, like if the player's head would have ducked down and he would have gotten him in the head, or his main target was the head, I would have understood the boarding call. But it was a clean hit, man. Like there has to be some opening for some of these defenders out there. I thought it was a clean hit. The rest of them I get, but how often do you hear me complain about the refs? And this is just the one call. It didn't end up mattering in the game, but I thought that was a clean hit, and I would not like to see that taken out of the game just because it was a monster hit and the guy flew into the boards.
Yeah, I think it's just, to me, it was a safety thing. And
I agree. Yeah.
like you mentioned, if anyone else does it, the guy probably doesn't get launched. Bomberry is a big boy who can hit hard. And I think it's unfortunate that it was him in that situation. I am fine with the penalty because of safety. But like you mentioned, like anybody else making that hit, it's probably not going into the boards. And we were kind of talking about it a little bit before the show. And I think if he's closer to the boards, I think his body goes safely into the boards and it's not a penalty. I think it was because of the distance. He just went really awkwardly into the boards. And like you said, I don't think it's necessarily that it was a hit from behind, but I think it was the fact that he just didn't have a good chance to brace himself against the boards. I believe the player went off injured right after because I think he hurt his wrist. They showed him on the sideline kind of messing with it because of just flying literally into the boards and just the awkward trying to brace yourself in that weird 2 to 3 feet before the board zone. So I agree with it in general, but like you mentioned, anyone else other than Bomberry making that hit, he probably doesn't go flying. I think if the player is closer to the boards, it's a fine hit and he just flies into the boards and then it's okay. And then if it's farther away from the boards and he doesn't hit the boards at all, I think it's a clean hit too. So really just unfortunate that Bomberry of all people was the one to hit him because he can hit really hard and kind of just launches players on accident. So it's not something I would really like to see Bomberry change about his game either. He can't just be, holding up on every single one of his hits because the guy 3 feet from the boards might end up launching himself into the boards. But I do get it just from a safety aspect. And then the refs in general, I thought they were extremely tight calling in this game. I thought there were a lot against Colorado that I didn't really agree with. There were some against Buffalo I didn't really agree with, but I think they just knew the rivalry, how heated it can get. And I am fine with what the refs did. They were very even. I mean, it was 6 chances for each team. There was a 5-on-3 for each team. It didn't really bother me how they were calling it. Normally I prefer them to be less involved. I think they were just trying to police the game, knowing what the two teams are. And I know Colorado was technically speaking fighting for their playoff hopes, but I don't really think they had much of a chance, even if they won that game. But you could tell the extreme passion that they were playing with. And I mean, you could see Ward getting fired up when goals went in that he wasn't happy with. You could see their players when they would score getting extremely fired up, chirping at the Bandits a lot of times. So even though they might not have been necessarily in a playoff race. The game was extremely heated because both teams want to win, especially Colorado being home and just playing the Bandits. So I'm okay with the refs policing a game like this and making sure it's called really tightly. But I mean, it led to even opportunities for both teams. So I don't think they did a bad job by any means. Just don't normally like that they call it that tight. But like with these two teams and just trying to keep fights kind of probably out of it and the just nastiness between them, I'm okay with it.
I was fine with it because they were calling it the same for both
Right.
teams.
It
And
was
like I
very
said,
even.
be consistently,
Yep.
consistently good or consistently bad.
Yeah, it was
I'll
fine.
just run through the goals really quick for Colorado, just because everybody likes to blame Vince every once in a while. That you can argue for or against him. Slow change. Dawson couldn't get off the bench. Kelly from the bench scores it, makes it 3-1. Second goal, Kinnear. It was the one I was talking about behind the back. It was just a beautiful shorthanded goal. Martin was playing perfect defense to make it 3-2. Third goal, I hate when defenders do this, and I see it constantly from all across the league. I just wish they would do this. They gave him the lane to the net. He misses, but the rebound goes right to McLaughlin, 3-3. Power play, Zed walks right in, picks the corner, 4-3 Colorado. Then the goal with 2.7 seconds left. Not much you can do when the man advantage went between Dawson's legs and Vince couldn't see it. Sixth goal off of Weiss's bad penalty. Priolo kind of gets pushed out of the play, and Eli kind of dunks it. And from the great pass by Connor Robinson, I thought he held onto the ball perfectly. It was 6-5 Colorado at that point. 5-on-3 Kelly, point bouncer, 8-7. Weiss this time gets pushed back on the penalty kill. Connor Robinson scores to make it 9-8. Bomberry just loses Kelly in front of the net. Easy pass, easy catch, easy goal to tie it up. Zed Williams, that's the one where he just pushes Dylan Robinson 10 feet away all alone. And then the last one, no one covers Zed Williams right off the bench, the guy that's been killing you all night, and bouncer, and makes it 11-10. So I don't really know how many I can put on Vince without going back and rewatching him once again. But I thought the defense for the most part played very well. And like you said, 7 of the goals came on 5-on-5 play, and you gave them 4 on the power play. That's where you just gotta, figure out how I thought they did a pretty good job as the game went on. I thought both teams did a good job as the game on, staying out of the box, but it's just those ticky-tack penalties with the especially the Weiss one. You can't just knee a guy who's on the ground when you're walking to the bench. They're looking for that kind of stuff, and it happened in the third quarter, so you should have known by then how they're calling the game.
Yeah, even I forget who their coach is, even though I knew as we
Pat
were
Coyle.
watching. Yeah, they interviewed him during the game, and he was kind of saying that the refs were calling things very closely,
Right.
but he also said if that's how they're going to be, then we have to adjust our game to that. And like you said, by the second half, they're calling things really closely, so you just can't have that kind of penalty. But I thought Vince played really well, and I know he only
Agreed.
had 32 saves, which
Big time saves.
isn't a ton, but yeah, he had a lot of really big saves, and I didn't see any of the goals that were necessarily on him or he wanted back. I thought he played great. I think he's been on a bit of a hot streak to end the season here. I think he's really,
Since he's been back, yeah.
I think he's really just fallen into form, and some of that is the defense getting healthy in front of him, that he can, actually work with some of these players. And as the defense continues to get a little bit better and gel a little bit more in front of him, I think he's just going to continue getting even more impressive as the season goes on. I don't want to get overly excited. There's still 2 games to go, and then we'll see what happens. But this team is doing something very similar to what they did last year, where the offense got back healthy at the very end of the season. Then they went on the extreme hot run to win the championship, and now it's completely flipped to the defense getting healthy at the end of the season, and now they're starting to put it all together, including Vince, who had a bit of a rough start. I don't think he was playing bad because the defense was not playing great in front of him, but you can tell he just seems to have finally kind of put some things together, and he looks, the last, 4 or 5 games, he's looked really good again. So I think the team is just kind of bringing it all together at the right time.
Yeah, I think the only other interesting note to make about what you just said, and this will kind of reinforce it, Vince did not play last summer. He was off, and this is the first time he was off of a summer schedule in a long time. So maybe this is just him coming into his own after not playing for that entire summer and just getting back into the groove. But yeah, he's definitely played unbelievable since he came back from that injury. So I think that sums up exactly what you said perfectly. But a lot of milestones happened in this one. Thank you guys. Thank you. My voice thanks you for this next show. Steve Perillo did get this 2 caused turnovers, so he did tie Brody Merrill for third place in NLL history. Chase Frazier did get his 200th career point. Dane Smith is up and over 1,700 shots. Chris Cloutier has a new career high in goals, assists, and points. Ian McKay, Dane Smith, and Nick Weiss all have new career highs in caused turnovers. Josh Byrne did pass Sean Williams for 8th place in a single Buffalo Bandits season. He also passed Dane Smith for 4th place in assists. Sorry, there's a lot of notes here. He passed him for a 4th in a Buffalo Bandits season. He also did pass John Tavares and Ryan Benesh for points in a single Bandits season. He also did pass Tom Schreiber, Mark Matthews, Lyle Thompson, John Grant Jr., and Sean Evans for 8th in an NLL season. And Dane Smith, he went up and over and is tying now John Tavares. He passed Ryan Benesh, but is tied with John Tavares for 4th in points in a Buffalo Bandits season. So on the next Friday show, there'll be a lot less I have to read.
Yeah, I think some of the records we were hoping for took a big hit in this game, but that's okay.
With
That's
the assists, yeah.
The assists and even the points. I feel like what they got definitely wasn't bad. It's not like they had a bad game. Josh and Dane, they both did fine, but I mean, they were already starting to kind of push getting the record, so they needed kind of mega performances to end these last 3, and they didn't fall off the wagon by any means, but just not really pushing that pace. But as far as Dane Smith's caused turnovers go, the last time he had this many was in 2014, and that is when he played defense. So just the incredible shift that he's made this year. I mean, really going back to his defensive roots and playing a full-on two-way game and really staying out there for a lot of defense, and not only just staying out there, but also having a major impact on defense with the amount of caused turnovers he's had. And Josh Burns also had a lot more defensive shifts and a lot more caused turnovers. So to see 2 of the top point getters in the entire NLL willing to play as much defense as they have and just have those caused turnovers to their season is just a testament to who they are as players. And my goodness, is it great to have them as Buffalo Bandits.
Yeah, and a lot of those are them busting their butt.
Right.
When there's a caused turnovers and causing those in the neutral zone. So I think that helps as well. That's more Josh Burns kind of thing than a Dane Smith, but I completely agree. But down. He really does and causes a lot of them. But NLL outlook here, the only other team, there was 2 teams that could have clinched a spot. Halifax did lose. We'll go over that in a second, but Georgia did win. So 4 spots of the 8 are now clinched. Toronto, San Diego, Albany, and Georgia are all locked in. They're making the playoffs regardless of the rest of the season. It's just about seeding now. But go over the games. Game 1 of Saskatchewan versus Calgary. Calgary took this one at home 12-10. They were up 9-4 at half and were able to hold on. Panther City versus San Diego. San Diego took this one 14-10. They scored 7 in the 4th to walk away victorious. Halifax versus Vancouver. Vancouver's hot streak, I think they've won 5 of 6 now. They won 15-13, 8-5 at half Halifax. And once again, like Halifax typically does this season, they crumble down the stretch. New York versus Rochester. Rochester's looking to avoid that pattern, but they're on pace to do it. New York won this one 14-6. New York scored 9 in the second half to walk out with the win. Toronto versus Albany. Albany's trying to get off the snide. Toronto 10-7 victory, 6 goals by Toronto in the second quarter. Las Vegas versus Georgia. Georgia won this one 13-9. Like I said, they clinched playoffs with that victory. Game 2, Calgary versus Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan won this one at home 12-9. Rush were up 9-5 at halftime and were able to close it out. And then the Sunday game, Panther City versus Philadelphia. If Philly loses, they're done. They did lose, so they are officially eliminated from the playoffs. Panther City won this one 12-10. Panther City did score the final 3 after being down 10-9 to win it.
A lot went the Bandits' way. That is
a lot
for sure. That last one's pretty much one of the only ones. And then Georgia. I watched the Georgia game because the Bandits played Friday, so that freed that up. And it was a lot closer than the 13-9 score suggested. It wasn't until pretty much midway through the 4th or late in the 4th. I think it was 9-9 at one point. It was very close. And then Georgia started to just slowly pull away as the game went on. I was like, dang it. I thought Vegas was, I didn't really have a lot of faith in them. Even when it was close, I was like, I expect Georgia to kind of pull away and take it, but they weren't early on. So I was like, okay, maybe Vegas has a chance. Then they did not. But Standings are interesting. I think the Bandits did a great job winning and put themselves further into the playoff position. And then the my fun talking point, I do think they still have a pretty fair-ish shot at getting in the top four. And I know Georgia has to lose their last game, but they do play Rochester, so it's not a cakewalk by any means. I know Rochester's been struggling, but they're still a decent team. So I think it'll be an interesting game. Rochester won't have much to play for, I don't think, at that point. We'll see. They could. So I think that last week's going to be big, but the Bandits have to take care of themselves and win their last two, so they need to focus on that first. But the end of the standings, where the Bandits did not want to be and have slightly distanced themselves from very nicely, looks ridiculous and incredibly jumbled right now. And I'm happy that the Bandits have kind of shifted themselves away from the mess, because it looks brutal. And I kind of hope Vancouver does not make it, because they are really putting things together at the end of the season.
Yeah, Buffalo can pass both Albany and or Georgia. Georgia just has to lose that. Well, Buffalo has to win their next two games regardless to be able to jump both those teams versus Calgary and Vegas. But Albany needs to lose their last two versus Panther City and New York, and or Georgia needs to lose their last one versus Rochester. So Buffalo can still jump both of them, but Albany and Georgia cannot win their last games. Like, that's the only way Buffalo can get a home game.
Yep.
And right now they're sitting in the 5th seed. They would be traveling to Georgia if the playoffs started today. But Phil, before we move on to real Bill, fake Bill, let's go over our second sponsor, Mr. Sizzles.
I scrolled the wrong way. Our second sponsor is Mr. Sizzles at 346 Connecticut Street in Buffalo, New York. They are opening 2 new locations at some point this year in Clarence and Hamburg. They are open 7 days a week, 11 to 11, with a new brunch menu on Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3.
Yeah, and they must have heard what I mentioned on the last episode, because I was talking about the loaded fries picture that they put up. The other day, they put up the morning Sizzy sliders, and they look absolutely delicious with their brunch menu. It's a fried egg. It's got burgers, obviously. It's got the American cheese, sauteed onions, OG sauce on a brioche slider roll, and I decided to pair that with Mimosa Party. It's a 750 milliliter bottle of bubbles with fresh squeezed orange juice for their brunch menu. Like you said, it runs every Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 3. And I am open and might be partaking in that next Saturday or Sunday, because I have free time, and I haven't been out there for a brunch menu, and I just need to get out there.
I think if you go out for the exact pairing you had, I think you got to get just a table for one, and that whole
100%,
bottle of
yep.
bubbly, that whole Mimosa Party, that's just you, as well as all of the Sizzy sliders. That's
one
for
straw,
one person.
please.
Yeah, one straw. You can check out the rest of their menu on their socials or at mrsizzles.com.
So it is time for everybody's favorite new game, Real Bill, Fake Bill, Draft Edition. Like we said, every episode from now until the draft, which will begin on April 25th, so that final Monday show, we will have a segment to see if Phil can guess. Is it a real Buffalo Bill draft pick, or is it a fake Bill? I'm going to be giving them, and you and everybody can play at home, 5 names each show, and all Phil has to let me know is it a real person that played for the Buffalo Bills, or is it a different person who has never played a professional sport, let alone on the Buffalo Bills, ever? So here we go. You can play along at home. And this is the one part where I forgot. Phil gets a point, and you get a point at home if you can correctly guess if it is a real Bill or a fake Bill. But this is the part I missed. You get a bonus point if you can tell me what year, what position, or what other career that person is. I'll be keeping score. So far, Phil has 2 points. I have 3. So, Phil, are you ready for your first one? Real Bill, fake Bill?
No, but I hope it is someone like Thomas Edison. And I can get that.
I wish it was, but here we go. Phil, can you get to 3 points? I'm going to ask you, and then you can let me know if you want to guess the year, the position, or the other career of this person, so I don't forget this time. Randall Johnson.
Oh man, Randall Cunningham. He played in Backyard
He was
Sports.
former quarterback. Yep.
That's all I remember him from. Great game, by the way. Really hope and wish at some point they bring
Cheat
backyard
code.
sports back. My goodness, was it a good time? Randall Cunningham, I think he was on my team every time for football because he was great. He was great. But that's not who we're talking about. I'm gonna say Real Bill.
You are correct.
Oh heck yeah. All right, wait. Bonus point. Oh my gosh, year. Where is this going back to? Like 2007 or something?
Runs from 2023 to 2002,
Oh
or you
my
can guess the
gosh.
position.
Oh, okay.
Either one.
How specific does the position have to be? Like, does O line count, or does you gotta like really get it?
No, O line counts. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
I'm gonna go D line.
D line, you're wrong. He was a linebacker.
I mean that's defensive line.
2014 7th rounder, 221st linebacker from Florida Atlantic.
Heck yeah.
All right, Phil, you got 1 point. You did not get the bonus point, but here we go. Ryan Fatman.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go Real Bill.
Wrong. Not a real
I thought
Bill.
it was gonna be just such a fake name that it had to be real.
Would you like to try to guess for their bonus point?
Oh my gosh.
I almost want to put this. Let me know. You have to get it right to get the bonus point. Would you like to go by those rules?
After this one. But yes.
Okay,
in general, that's what I assumed you were doing. But I'm gonna guess pizza place owner.
No, he is the current member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives.
Oh my gosh. But there is Fat Man's Pizza that is local, so that's where I was going with that. Just so you know.
All right, Phil, you're 1 for 2. You did not get a bonus point on either one, and now you can only get a bonus point if you do guess correctly, real Bill or fake Bill. Maurice Stigger.
Excuse you, what now?
Maurice Stigger.
Stigger.
Steger.
Real.
Real Bill?
Real Bill.
Incorrect. He is a world famous recorder player, and his quote is, "I am like a mini golf star."
Oh, then he should be on. Oh my gosh, what was it called? What was our golf show that we watched for Putt Putt?
I know what you're talking about with
Holy Moly, there it is.
That's it. You got it.
Yeah, he definitely seems like someone who would be on Holy Moly. I'm doing.
But I was like, what is an instrument that nobody really knows? Recorder. Is there a famous recorder player? I got it.
There sure is. I mean, I don't know. I guess you got to be famous within those circles.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean,
anybody
I
who's a recorder player should know this
popular
guy.
instrument. I wouldn't know if they were famous or not. So
yeah.
Anyway, continue.
All right. 4th name here. I'm gonna go CJ IU.
I've gone so many real. I feel like I should just go fake, but that means it's gonna be real. Wasn't Anku a guy? I know that's not what you said, but
Anku? Yeah, Eli Anku. Yeah, I think he's still on the Bills.
Okay, well, that's one. Got it. Did we draft him? I'm gonna go. Oh my gosh, fake. I guess.
He is a real Bill.
I should have gone real.
2007 7th rounder, 239th overall. He was a defensive end from Oklahoma.
This is going terrible.
I love this game.
As
I absolutely love this game. Yeah, you're 1 for 3. You can't top last week unless you get the bonus point on this last one. Last name, Kent Logsden.
Fake.
You got it.
Yes.
Now, what's his career?
I was gonna say, is he a logger? Kent Logsden. Does he hold a government position?
He did.
Okay. I mean, I feel like
that's not a bonus point.
Right, that should be close enough, but I have no idea. Former state senator.
Former U.S. ambassador for Germany.
I mean, I'll take it. I'm
Phil, you went 2 for 3 on real Bill, fake Bill, draft edition. I thought you did. I can't say you did better because you didn't, but
I didn't do worse though, and that's key.
You didn't do worse. No improvement, but no loss anyway. So
consistent.
You're very consistent, but so far I'm winning 4-6. So
I feel like a comeback could happen if I get a good run, though. I'm still in it.
You got to get a good run, but I've been trying to change up while I'm doing it. This time I went real Bill, fake Bill, fake Bill, real Bill, fake Bill. So try to keep up with the pattern here. Last show I went real, fake, fake. So I don't really have a pattern. I just make this up as I go. But we'll dive into our last one here on the next show. There'll be another edition of Real Bill, Fake Bill, Draft Edition. So try to keep up, guys. It's tough to stump me, and it's tougher when these names mean absolutely nothing to most people. So we'll go on to our final segment here. Buffalo Sabres, Friday versus Philly, 4-2 victory. Tage, Darlene, and Quinn scored 2. UPL 32 of 34 saves. Shots were 34-19 in favor of the Flyers. So you're going into another Sunday game, Phil. Another Detroit matchup. Another opportunity to get within a playoff shot. And the Buffalo Sabres, once again, come up short. They lost 3-1. Tage was the only goal scorer. UPL 21 of 24 saves. Shots were 38-24 in favor of the Sabres.
Yeah, we talked about this a bit, and it's just, I mean, as far as us personally, I cannot. I was trying to find UPL stats for the season. I was trying to see how bad those 2 games took them, but couldn't find it real quick. But as far as the first game goes, I thought UPL, which is why I was trying to look this up, played absolutely out of his mind and made some ridiculously insane saves and kept that team in it for them to win it. And then, like you mentioned, so here on the show, we have kind of counted them out for a while. And then even when they get back in it, we don't have a lot of faith or hope. And then they do stuff like this. But as a team in general, like within the organization, the players on the team, after they beat Philly, they have to, I would hope, personally believe that they can still make playoffs, even if we have kind of written them off. You have a humongous game against Detroit. You have a chance to kind of claw your way back into the playoff picture, and you let 3 goals in less than 8 minutes, and you never catch up. And Detroit just can play defensively the rest of the game. Just, I don't know. It's so frustrating still that, like, within the organization, how do you not just find a way to get up for that game and not be down 3-0 8 minutes in? Like, clearly you were not prepared to play this team. You were not ready to come onto the ice and play incredible. And this is exactly where they've been all season, where they have one pretty good looking game, then they win that one and then lose the next one. And this is where they are again. But just, I don't know, it just seems ridiculous to me that they cannot find a way to will themselves to a victory against a team like Detroit. And maybe that just really proves they are not ready for playoffs and not ready to be a top 16 team, because they can't seem to prove that they are.
Yeah, I got this. I don't have today's numbers mixed in here, but he's played in 51 games before the Sunday game, 26, 21, and 3, 255 or 2.55 goals against, and a 9-10 save percentage. Again, this doesn't factor in Sunday's game, but I think you said it everything perfectly. They won the game they needed to versus Philly, and coming into this game, there's still their games that matter. You still got Ottawa and Washington playing right now. Washington's up. But if you just don't count those games because they're not final yet, and you take care of business versus Detroit's sitting there at 82 points. You're sitting there with 81. Yes, you're 2 points back of Pittsburgh as of this recording, 8:15. You're 2 points back of Philly. You're 1 point back of Washington and Detroit with 4 games left. And yes, they have some games in hand, but again, there's some games that are still being worked out here. This is the second time this season that Detroit has allowed just 1 goal against you in 2 absolutely massive games. This is a team that chokes when the lights are the brightest. Like, there's no other way to describe it. They just blow it in the first, like you said it, 3 goals in the first 8 minutes. How do you show up to this game and just, how have you not shown up the entire first period all this season? They're 7-21-1 when allowing 2 or more goals in the first period. It's mind-boggling. And at this point, again, I can't get behind this team and try to talk positively about them or just even care at all, because they don't care. Like, there's no way other than to explain to me that they don't actually care than to not show up to the start of this game. Like, this was your biggest game of the year. This game could have gotten you back into that playoff contention with 4 games left. A playoff team for the second wildcard spot could have a lower number than they did last year when you lost by a point. So all you had to do this year was basically play at the same pace you did last year, and you probably would have been sitting in a playoff spot. And they couldn't even do that. It's not that they lost this game. Like, if they would have lost this one 3-1, like it's 2-1 and then they score an empty netter, I can live with that. But to go into a Sunday game versus Detroit to make up for what you did earlier in March, like midway through March, where I sat down excited for that game, watching it, going, man, they can get back into this. After everything that happened, you beat Detroit in regulation here, you're back into it. They could have erased all that memory in this game on Sunday. And guess what? They just don't show up for the first 8 minutes. And it costs them the rest of their season because at this point, and I've already ruled them out like a month ago, but they're done. Like, it's absolutely done to have 2 games where you can pull within and get back in this playoff race and to score 1 goal in both those games. It's unacceptable. Somebody needs to be held accountable. And the worst part is I know nobody will. It's such an annoying thing to keep having to talk about this team and try to talk that you're interested in at anything when they're not interested in hockey games whatsoever.
Yeah, it's even tough, like the Philadelphia game. Like, I'm trying to get myself excited that Quinn scored 2. I'm like, okay, for the future, he looks great if he can stay healthy. But like, I don't care. I just have no hope. Like, I would like to fast forward to January of next year and tell me where they are. And until that time, until they are looking great and in, a great potential playoff spot, I don't care. I mean, like, I can't even get excited about the potential that this team has, because that's all we've talked about for 13 straight seasons is look at all these young players, look at all this talent they have. They're going to, next year's the year everyone's going to, really step up and everything's going to fall into place. You got your goalie now. You got, these players are getting healthy at the end of the season and they're starting to put some things together. Quinn's back scoring goals. Like, Peterka's had a great end of the year, which is sad for him because no one's talking about it, but he's looked really, really good at the end of the season. But I don't care. Like, it was the exact same thing we said last year. Like, everything fell into place at the end of the year. They almost made playoffs, and this was supposed to be the year to get them, through that push, and they just fell flat on their faces for 90% of this season. And at this point, that's all I expect for next year is nothing to change. No one to really be signed. They're just going to call up the young guns and hope that they can somehow mature 6 years from now in one off season and become this masterful team with the same coach, same assistant coaches, same everything. That next year is just supposed to all fall into place like it was supposed to this year. And I'm expecting what happened this year to happen again next year. So just frustrating and really hard to, like you said, find any hope or silver lining or excitement, because that's exactly what we had at the end of last year, and this was the result of it.
Yeah, they got 4 games to go. They're in Dallas on Tuesday. They're home against Washington on Thursday, final home game. They're away in Florida on Saturday, and then next Monday in Tampa Bay is their final game of the year. I can't wait for that final show, which will have to be that Friday show, and then we'll decide if and when we do the the BSC award show for this team. But yeah, 4 more games and then they can go dormant until the draft. And fingers crossed, maybe we'll get the number 1 overall pick, Phil. But I don't care. I don't care because it's run by a bunch of buffoons. So Phil, is there anything else you would like to add to this episode before we shut it down and go watch a moon cross the path of a sun?
There you go. Now you're getting excited. The Bandits swept Colorado. That's exciting. Congrats to them. They continue to beat them and get their revenge from the 2 years ago championship where they lost. They won last year and now beat them up twice this year. Good for the Bandits. Good win. Put themselves in a good playoff spot. Go team.
So on our next episode, we'll talk about the Sabres victory in Dallas because it's going to happen. We'll talk about the Buffalo Bandits home final game. Phil will be up in the box for that one. The Calgary game, the fan appreciation night, another must win. If they win that one, they clinch playoffs regardless of what else happens. And we'll do the 3rd installment of Real Bill, Fake Bill with Phil. There you go. So thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room and Mr. Sizzles for sponsoring this show and this podcast. Thank you. Man, Phil, I'm all out of sorts here.
That's all right.
It's over the hour. That's why. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us that review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.